Hello, first up we have a weather report from Idi Amin, which sort of describes today's weather.
Hear the weather forecast as issued at 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time by the Uganda Meteorological Office. They've been up on the Air Ministry roof and it's pissing down with rain. That's the end of the weather forecast.
Welcome back to the channel. This week we have a Pye Executive Ranchero thingy-bob, whatever they like to call it. I think the Executive was the valve model and the Ranchero was the transistorized model in this range anyway. So this is the first transistor model, and it's been a little bit butchered slightly in the past. Not me, well, sort of me, but the batteries have leaked in it and all that sort of thing. You'll see that in the video. It was working fine until I got to the very end, and I turned it on and it died. Worked for about 10 seconds and then just cut out. I worked out that it was this transistor. I don't know whether you can see that from there. This one, you'll see it later in the video anyway. So yes, one of the legs has been broken in half, and it looks like it's been done quite a while ago. So I don't know how it was working before. It must have been just hanging on, and then I've finally knocked it out of its life. I'm going to order another one in fact I'll do the order now, because the other Ranchero needs a complete set of transistors. The other valve one, I put the 4.7 meg ohm resistor in it, which came from America, and they delivered on a Sunday of all things at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on a Sunday, imagine that. And when I got back from Melbourne on the Monday, it was there, so I stuck it straight in, and of course it made no difference, although so I'll have to trace that out even further. I suspect there might be something else wrong. Well, there is something else wrong with it. I suspect it might be the output transformer, but I was getting a bit of a sort of electrical click through it, so I can't quite work it out. When I directly connect the transformer to another radio, or directly connect the speaker to another radio, I get nothing, so I don't know what's going on with that. Anyway, let's get into it. I've talked enough. You'll see all the bits and pieces. I tested it all the way through after a couple of capacitors. So here we go.
Rightio, so I've been trying to get the valve set working, the other one, and it's still as dead as a doornail. The transformer's definitely outputting the right amount. There's all brand new valves in it. I've changed the 4.7 meg resistor, which came in from America, and bizarrely it has all these restrictions on them. So what I've done is I've given up on that one for the time being, and I'm having a look at this one. So I changed the camera. So this one was picked up at a market. It's not an HRSA one. It does have the knobs, although this one is missing bits out of it. That is fairly good, although it's filthy dirty. The front definitely needs repainting, and all the most of the gold has come off of the bezel. So I'm going to have to work out how to do it with electrolysis, I suspect, or find a very good gold paint and then clean all this back. So that's going to be a long-term project doing that. Inside, I took the back off of it, or the case off of it, and that's come up absolutely spotless. But the batteries have obviously leaked in this some stage, and I've had to remove great amount of rust from here, and it's also over the mouse, and there's also a lot of rust down here as well, which I'll have to clean up. Probably clean the chassis up a great deal too, maybe even repaint it. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 paper caps in this one. So it's not as simple as the other one. It's pretty filthy, but I'll just plug this in, or connect up the power to it. If I turn it on, it does actually work, and it picks up the Bendigo station as well as Melbourne. And the lights are on, and there's a lot of interference around, but so it probably needs re-stringing because the string looks like it's about to break. But what I'm going to do now is replace all the capacitors in here. So I'll do a couple of them and then I'll be back. It's going to be a slow task because I have to clean the board with isopropyl alcohol, which I use wherever I put it. Oh, there it is. So I use this stuff. Okay, I'll be back then. Right, I've started to clean up the board and it's coming up okay, but this lettering has come off down here, and that's because that's where the battery leaked. And you can maybe see the battery leakage line right across the radio. Not sure whether you can see that. So you can see it right across from there, and it goes right across there. And it's down under here as well, and it goes out here. This is quite sort of interesting. This is a 0.25 microfarad, and this is a 0.22. So they haven't changed terribly much, although this one's 100 volts and this one's 600. But this one, this is a 16 volt one, and this is a 10 volt at 100 microfarads. So that just shows you the amount of difference in the size of things. So I'm not quite sure whether this is going to reach across. May do. Yeah, just. You will just get away with that. This is the base of the board. There's some rust around there, and of course they did a terrible job with the flux back in the day, so they were not too careful about where they splashed it around. So I'm going to have to clean all that off before I do any soldering. So I've replaced these three here, and so we'll see what's going to happen now when I turn it on. These two down here are going to be a bit of a pain to get out. I think, maybe not, or put in, yeah. Okay, so let's try turning it on.
It's been a huge week so far. Turfy's been in and he'll be back Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, a bit after 10 on the Sunday. We're going to finish up this morning with the well-known song, Soul Man. Does anyone know Soul Man from 1967?
Okay, so we'll turn that off before we get a copyright strike. So seems to be getting better every time I replace the capacitor, even though these wouldn't have been driven hard, because this is obviously a battery set. I've also noticed that there's a couple of replacement transistors in here, these black ones. I don't know whether you can see that. There's that one, and there's another one down here, which you definitely can't see. Try and get some light onto it. No. And there's also, I've discovered a couple of capacitors right down inside here. So I'm going to have to take this strengthening brace off to get to them, unfortunately. Which will, actually, no, this one isn't rusted. So fortunately the battery didn't leak onto this screw over here, and this is just a cover plate. There's a big hole there, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue when I get around to cleaning it up. So we'll move on and do the next couple of capacitors. Right, I've done this group of capacitors down here, looking at the monitor here. So there was an electrolytic down here, which this one is considerably smaller, and I could have used a much smaller one, but that didn't fit because it was too small. And then these two paper caps up here, which were surprisingly easy to replace. So let's see if it works. Sure it will.
We can't afford to have
Yep.
any more incidents in our major race. What are your thoughts with that, Vicky? Because the industry can eat itself very often, can't it?
I mean, absolutely.
So my next plan of attack is to clean out the solder sucker gun, because this is getting very full up from this, even though I emptied it before I started this particular radio. These two, now this one will be a bit tricky to get in and out because of its location, so we'll do these two next. Right, I've done these three capacitors down here. Yes, and we'll just see if this works. Get this on properly. Well, yes, it seems to work.
So for the RS...
Not sure why that's not. How interesting. Wonder if what I've done wrong there.
It's now into 240. This is the debutante from the Chris Wallace stable. Outside of it, next best in the market, you're out to $7, and that's for Machine Head. But Calvin McElroy gave a bit of a push.
Okay. So something... The board is actually sitting on these dirty cotton buds, so I don't know whether something is pushing up on it or something like that, so we'll try this. Okay, I'll work this out and I'll be back. Thought that went too smoothly. It's my fault, I didn't solder something back properly, but it's working really well now.
I think that's a good scenario for Olivia Scandal's second day at the races. In an 11 light invasion, don't mind what I've seen from the jump outs from the Moody and Coleman stable as the almost the mandatory nose roll going on day 2. Gigaton ran well first up.
I'll do the... This is going to be the tricky part, getting to the two capacitors down underneath here and the one underneath the volume pot. But we'll continue on. I was just about to put this, well, take it out to the garage and put some anti-rust paint on the rusty bits and seal it all up, and they started to make a crackling noise as I was testing it, and sure enough, one of the leads has broken in half. So I don't know quite how that happened. It probably wasn't me, given that it might have been when I was cleaning the radio, but it looks like the end of it has sorry, I'm just trying to look at it myself. Looks like the part that's come loose or broken is rusty. So, and these leads are quite tarnished too, quite badly. So I'm going to have to order another 2SB 54 by the looks of it. I'll just add that to the order for the other radio. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to quite finish this today, I guess, but yeah, I could try and solder the lead back together again, but I don't think that's going to really hold. And as it's a germanium focus camera, it's a germanium transistor. Yeah, it's probably best to get another good one if possible, or an equivalent. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that jazz, and I'll be back next week with another exciting radio adventure, as Dave Tipton is apt to say. And I'm not quite sure what I'll have next week, because I won't see Pete for the transistors until next Saturday, not tomorrow, the following Saturday. And but I'll think of something. I really want to try and get this Philips going again. I've got all the capacitors and all that sort of thing, but I suspect it might be a switch, and that is probably going to put an end to it, because the switches will be almost impossible to get now. Yes, okay, so I'll speak to you next week, and thanks for watching, and goodbye for now. Bye.